Hello, everyone. Welcome back. This is RandoGEEK. All right, so this is an interesting article here. It's not shocking. I mean, we hear about these things all the time, but nonetheless, it's good to know when your carrier is misbehaving and they're getting out of line. So in this case, this is one of those scenarios. This is one of those situations where Verizon is accused of doing a dirty on customers, selling customers information without your consent. So if you're a consumer, you could be affected by this, and I'm sure you don't like hearing about your data being sold. All right, so it looks like we have Susan Taylor who wants to represent a class of customers whose information has been sold. Okay, she wants to represent a nationwide class of consumers whose proprietary network information and other personally identifiable information was collected, disclosed, and or sold by Verizon without their knowledge or consent. So the class action lawsuit says that the identification of sensitive and private characteristics of individual customers from the location data sold or disclosed by defendant constitutes as unwarranted invasion of plaintiffs and class members' privacy. So Taylor argues that the information allegedly disclosed by Verizon includes your browsing history, location data, and app usage, which aided in creating detailed profiles for targeted advertising. So this would mean that it's your browsing history, things that you shop for, things that you do, things that you may not want Verizon or any company really keeping their eye on, right? That's your business, where you spend your money, how you spend your money, etc. So they're in your business, they're tracking it even though you didn't allow for them to do it. And basically they're creating profiles for all this stuff so that they can solicit you and have their third party vendors solicit you also that they can make a buck. And for many people, you may see this as harmless because none of your, not, your address wasn't supposedly given away, your name wasn't given away, maybe not even your credit card details, but you don't really know that. You don't know exactly. Think about it, your browsing history when you shop online and things that you do saves and stores all that information. How do you know they're not pulling some of that data to let people know that, third party vendors know exactly how much you're spending, which gives them an idea of how much money you're willing to spend, right? And what you're willing to buy and how much you're willing to pay for those products. So this is personal information when you really break it down, and it's unjustified because there has to be a thin line. There has to be a fine line between customers' privacy and your company. Just because they're your company doesn't mean they have the right to pry into your business. So I think that this lawsuit is justified. I think it's a justifiable situation here where Verizon should be reprehended for this. They should have to pay consumers that were affected by this. And it's also a lesson, like, respect people's privacy. So Verizon's privacy policy is misleading, the class action says. Taylor argues Verizon failed to provide customers with a meaningful choice or opportunity to opt out of these data collection practices. So apparently, it looks like in certain situations, they didn't even give you the chance. So because you didn't say no in certain situations, they just took advantage and helped themselves. They basically just went hands in and started tracking your data without your permission. So the lawsuit further claims Verizon's privacy policy was misleading, as it suggested that any data shared with third parties was de identified or aggregated to prevent individual identification. So they also say that although defendant contends the information is uses and in the insights it develops, does not identify customers individually, such claims are misleading. Again, yes, it doesn't identify me, you, or the specifics of where we are, etc., but it identifies what you're doing, how much you're paying for products, what you're interested in buying, and it's a way to kind of manipulate the situation and force advertisers, reps onto you and basically just irritate the customer. How many times do you get calls that you don't want? How many times do you get emails that you don't want? And if you find out that it's your own carrier doing this, well, you're going to have words with them, right? If it's just you're on some spam list and you don't know why, you can't do anything about it. But when you find out it's a company that you pay every month to do business with, how are you going to feel about that? Not happy. So these are valid claims. I think that this is basically, I guess, to set an example. Obviously, they want to provide justice to the customers that were affected, have a little money go out. It'll probably be very little to nothing. If it's a million, if it's $5 million lawsuit, $20 million lawsuit, depending on how many customers were affected, which is probably a good amount, it's only going to be like $5 to $10 a check for each person. But it does set an example. it sets an example which you would think that they would have learned already, because this is not the first time that they've been called out for this. You know, all these companies do it and they just don't get it, do they? They just continuously spy and do the things that they keep doing. And then they'll cry about, how, it's unfair, it's unjust for them and yada, 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 all these things. But nobody's really feeling bad for companies. Respect people's privacy and there won't be a problem. I don't know. You can agree with me, disagree with me, but personally, I think that customers and companies need to have a thin line, a fine line between, doing business and personal life. Like respect people's boundaries and there won't be a problem. You won't get sued. You won't have to spend money. This is money that they could reinvest in a network or advertising for products and services, something useful, not paying for claims of your, mistakes that you keep making over and over again repetitively. I don't know. That's how I feel about it. As always, thank you so much for stopping by and watching, and we'll catch you in the next one. Bye for now.